This is a vodcast on the instructions for paper meiosis. You should have in your group of 2 a blue sheet of chromosomes and a pink sheet of chromosomes, some colored pencils, as well as a scissors. What we're going to do in this activity is actually take all the chromosomes that are in the human genome. That's a total of 46 chromosomes. We're going to use those chromosomes to go through meiosis to produce the gametes, so the eggs in the sperm, that would be used in fertilization. So we're going to use the actual chromosomes to see how this happens. Along the way, you'll be diagramming different things in your notebook, as well as writing notes on important terms and facts that we go through. So the first thing that we need to do is take a look at your sheets of paper. This one is the female chromosome spread. That's why I put the pink background on here, like the pink sheet of paper. The reason that I know it's a female is because we have a chromosome right here in this area. That is an X. And another chromosome over here. That's also an X. Okay? All females in the human genome are XX. In other words, we have 2 X chromosomes. So that's something you want to make a note of in your notebook. Females are XX. The male chromosome spread, which is blue for you guys and is on my next slide here, has a different chromosome designation for male. We have still an X chromosome right here, but then there's also a little tiny Y chromosome right there. So males are XY in human species for their chromosomes. These 2 chromosomes are what's called a homologous pair. So the XY in the male and the XX in the female are one homologous pair of chromosomes. We have a total of 23 pairs of chromosomes, and when you multiply those out, we have 46 total. So let's start taking a look at what those different homologous pairs are. So back to the female, but the people with a male sheet should be able to do this as well. You can see that each of these chromosomes has been numbered for you. So for example, down here in the corner by the X chromosome, we have a number 18 chromosome here. And there is somewhere else in the jumble of these chromosomes another 18, which is right here. So there's a homologous pair there as well. Remember that one of the chromosomes came from the mom and one of the chromosomes came from the dad, and that is why we have 2 chromosome 18s. Also, see, they're the same size approximately. Some of them are bent a little bit differently just because of the way the chromosomes eventually spread out in this particular slide, but homologous pairs are essentially the same. Remember, they also carry the same genes, but different versions of the gene, where one of these chromosomes might carry the gene for blue eye color, the other one might carry the gene for brown eye color. So we've got all these different homologous pairs numbered 1 through 23, but I also want to point out to you how they came from the mom and the dad. So again, back to our female, she's an XX. That means that she got an X chromosome from her dad's sperm and an X chromosome from her mom's egg. If we go to the male, however, as we said already, he is XY. So remember, he had the X that we saw in the female, but he also has a Y. Okay. In this case, we know that the X chromosome down here, he must have gotten from his mom, because if his mom is XX, she can only pass on X to her children, whether it's a boy or a girl. And the Y he must have gotten from his dad, because the dad was male, therefore XY. The only way that he could have gotten a Y is from his dad. His mom didn't have an X to give. So that's how we get the sex of different babies determined, is whether or not that dad gives that Y chromosome. Sometimes he gives an X and ends up having a girl. So in meiosis, you're going to see why this doesn't always happen, that all the boys are male or all the children are male or all the children are female. Depends on, in meiosis, which sperm get the Y and which sperm get the X. All right, back to our female chromosome spread again. Just take a look at it from here. What I'd like you to do is start by finding the homologous pairs. Okay, in order to go through meiosis, we have to know which pairs go together. And it's nice and easy for you since, as I said, they're already numbered. So for all the people that have the female sheet, what you're going to do is you're going to take the red pencil and the blue pencil, and you're going to color in the homologous pairs. And this is how I want you to do this. So I'm going to take my highlighter instead. I'm going to use red and blue highlighting. I'm going to find my first homologous pair, which is going to be the 8s, because I see them close to each other. And I'm going to just color over the top of my first 8 with my red colored pencil. It can be real fast, it's just highlight it quickly. And then I'm going to color over the top of my second 8 with blue colored pencil. Now why am I doing that? What is that showing? It's showing me that for this woman, because this is a female's genetic chromosome spread, as I said, one of her X's came from her mom and one of her X's came from her dad. Well, the same way with her chromosome number 8s. The blue 8, right here that I highlighted, came from her dad. The red 8 came from her mom. And we want to keep track of those as we're going through meiosis to see how all of these shuffle up and divide out. As I said, how is it that boys get Y's and girls get X's? We're going to talk about that. So you need to go through each pair, those of you who have the pink female sheet, and highlight which one they got from the mom and which one they got from the dad. So again, the X, one of these X's had to have been from her dad, and the other X had to have been from her mom. So again, people with the female sheet go through for every single one of these 23 pairs. One gets colored blue and one gets colored red or pink in my case, but red on your colored pencils. So that's for the girls. Now for the males, that's going to be very similar if you have a male set of chromosomes. So again, we want to show who's from the mom and who's from the dad. Instead of doing the red and the blue, I have you guys doing orange and purple, but I'm going to use red and blue to symbolize that since I don't have orange and purple highlighters. But you're going to use your orange, and you're going to highlight one of the chromosomes in each pair as coming from the mom. So I'm going to do this 12 here, this one's from the mom, and then one chromosome in each pair as coming from the dad. So this 12 must have been from this man's father. So when this man was created as a baby, he got one chromosome 12 from his dad and one chromosome 12 from his mom. Now the reason this is a little different is because you can't arbitrarily choose all of these chromosomes. The Y must have come from the dad, and the X must have come from the mom. Okay? So the X has to be orange in your case, and the Y has to be purple. But otherwise, you can go ahead and choose, between each numbered pair, which one is from the mom, which one is from the dad, and then color those appropriately. I'll just do one more for you. We'll do 14s. One of the 14s from the mom, so that's orange. One of the 14s from the dad, so that's purple. And you keep doing that until all of those are highlighted with an appropriate color. You may want to pause the video right now at this point so that you can take the time to do the coloring. And we'll come back and talk about the next step. Okay, now that you've got all of the chromosomes colored, so 23 are colored either orange or red, and 23 are colored either blue or purple, signifying where those chromosomes came from. We're going to cut them apart because they need to go through meiosis, which means they're going to be moving around a little bit. So I want you to do two things when you cut these things apart, and you have to be very careful with these two things. First of all, I do not want this to take forever to cut these all apart. So when you're cutting these chromosomes, they don't have to be cut along the lines. Okay, so you don't have to be real careful and follow the pattern of the chromosome and cut them out exactly in that pattern. Instead, I just want you to take a scissors and snip each one out in roughly the correct pattern, just so that they're all on a little strip of paper. Okay, this goes for the people with the pink sheets as well as the blue sheets. The second thing you need to be really careful of and remember is you're cutting them out separately, and then once you've got them cut out, they're very little tiny pieces of chromosome that get lost easily and mixed up easily. So as you're cutting them out along these chromosome lines, you need to keep your own pile of chromosomes safe in one place. Don't get them mixed up with anybody else's chromosomes, and don't get them, brushed off the table with your elbow or anything like that. Every year we have at least a couple little chromosomes that are lost for some reason or another because people aren't paying close enough attention to what they're doing. So what you're going to want to do is, as I said, chop them out, not on the lines, just cut the chromosomes apart as quickly as you can because we don't want to waste a lot of time on that. And then make sure you keep your chromosomes in a pile. Why don't you pause the video at this point and do that as well. All right, now that you've got the chromosomes all cut out, each person who has either a blue sheet or a pink sheet in the pair is going to individually send their chromosomes through meiosis. Remember, the whole goal of meiosis is to cut the chromosome number in half to make reproductive cells. So if you have a blue sheet of chromosomes, your chromosomes are going to be found in the testes because they're in the male reproductive organs, and they're going to form sperm. If you have a pink sheet of chromosomes, your chromosomes are found in the ovaries, and they're going to form eggs. So now you have to imagine either you're a cell in the testes or a cell in the ovaries, and you're forming these gametes, either sperm or eggs. So the first thing that has to happen in meiosis is that the homologous pairs, so those ones that are the same number, or in the case of the X's, the X and the X or the X and the Y, have to find each other. Okay, so what I want you to do is on the table in front of you, pair up all the correct chromosomes together. Now this is, remember, separately happening in the blue pile of chromosomes, or the blue sheet of chromosomes. That's happening in the testes on its own. And then in the ovaries, the pink pile of chromosomes also happening on its own. So in your pile of chromosomes, you need to find your homologous pairs. So the two chromosomes that are number... Don't want to do that. The two chromosomes that are number 1 should be paired together. So put the two 1s together, put the two 2s together, put the two 3s together, put the two 4s together, so forth and so on. You get to your two X's, or if you have a blue sheet, your X and your Y, and put those together. So this is the first part of meiosis we're modeling today, is that the homologous pairs have to get together. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to kind of talk through this a little bit as well. Remember that in the vodcast, I said that the chromosomes themselves have to replicate first and make copies of themselves, so there's twice as much DNA in the chromosomes already. Well, the chromosomes that we're using, the ones you cut out, are already replicated. So we don't have to worry about modeling that. Okay, we already have twice as much DNA to start with. So we're on to the next part where the homologous pairs find each other. So that's what you're doing. You're putting all of your homologous pairs together. Okay, so the 18th chromosome goes with the 18th chromosome. Again, keeping the blues separate from the pinks, because the blues represent one individual, a male, who's going through meiosis, and the pinks represent another individual, a female, who's going through meiosis. All right, you may want to pause if you're still busy matching up homologous pairs. I'm going to move on when you turn the video back on.